welcome to the What You Don't Know podcast, brought to you by the Know Like Trust Report, which is a simple, actionable survey that asks the most important questions. My name is Teresa Nichols, and I am honored to have as our guest today Merick Evans, who is a personal trainer. And Merick, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself? I'm really excited to have you here. Thank you so much. Tell us what you're doing right now and what's going on.
Yeah, great. So I'm actually currently in the mall, so if you guys hear any background noise, I apologize for that. But I actually work on the third floor of the mall at a
Yeah.
gym called Equinox. I recently relocated to Miami, Florida, and it's been such a great experience. I know Carrie's located in Cincinnati, but
Yeah.
we had initially met at a place called Exercise Coach, got to know
Yeah.
each other, and now, even though we're separated, we're still coming together to, provide some value to you guys. So yeah, I've been a personal trainer for the last 3 years. I also do some online coaching, and I've had plenty of different jobs growing up. I worked in the propane industry. I've worked
Oh,
at factories, so definitely have a lot of experience with like not always giving or getting the best feedback, but continuing to get better, especially as a personal trainer. I mean, feedback is critically important. So I'm excited to kind of dive into that topic a little more.
yeah. Yeah. Thank you. I had no idea that you were ever in any other industries.
Yeah,
Do you
definitely.
have any interesting information about feedback from those other
Oh,
jobs that you had?
yeah, for sure. So, I mean, when you do any kind of manual labor,
Yeah.
the expectation is much different, right? Than if you do
Yeah.
any kind of like white collar work or more intellectual work. And so when
Yeah.
you do blue collar work, I mean, it really comes down to like perform. And so if you're not hitting the markers, then more often than not, you're going to be getting feedback relatively quickly. And so, a prime example of that is like most employers will set goals for you, like, okay,
Yeah.
this is what we need to be achieving. And this is, even in the intellectual space as well. But, for blue collar work, it's basically, can you work harder than I am right now or more efficiently? And
Yeah.
so when I worked propane specifically, I did refurbishing and painting of propane tanks, which people would like have in their backyards and front yards
Yeah.
and stuff.
Wow.
And, they would set markers for us. And if we were not able to do those markers, which actually we rarely got feedback, um, that was not good, not because we were the best workers or whatever, but because we were so efficient, right? Because if they tell us, look, you need to refurbish 4 tanks a day, and we only did 5 or 6, then there was less for them to say. And even if the tank
Right.
wasn't like perfectly done, they were just happy with the high output. So,
Huh.
it can look a lot of different ways, but, when you look at the manual labor space, it really comes down to like, how efficiently can you do your job and can you make sure the quality of the,
Well, that's interesting first off because I do think in that space your the things that you're required to do are very clear.
yeah,
So
absolutely.
in yeah, in other areas, it's harder to know what it is that you need to improve because there aren't those markers, like you were saying. So,
Definitely.
that's really cool though. I like that. Thank you for sharing that. And I imagine there was some of that you could use later on, as a personal trainer. So,
Definitely.
did you notice anything that was transferable from those two?
Yeah, so I would say like the biggest thing is like, okay, I will say at the propane company, I didn't have a lot of feedback, right? But
Yeah.
when I worked in a factory or, even at Papa John's, I was a delivery driver. Um, like the feedback came more from one, consumers, and then two, direct supervisors. So at Papa John's, mainly consumers, about how fast the delivery was. And usually, like, people tend to be nice over mean, especially because you're the one bringing them their food. So most of the
Yeah.
time in the food industry, you can receive positive feedback, unless you're providing a product that they didn't like or you took too long, XYZ. So I think being able to respond to that negative criticism at times, like really helps build your character. And so
Wow.
for me now, like working at Papa John's helped me for this reason because it could not always be my fault, right? Imagine we had a super busy day. It was a Friday night. Everybody wants a pizza. I'm doing 3 deliveries at once, and I got to the last person's house, 3 minutes behind schedule, and because it was downpouring, and they're just like, "Oh, why were you late?" Blah blah, and no tip, right? Of course, so like you learn to deal with that kind of like, um, what I would say, just like ill-mannered treatment where it's like it's not on you, but they're still gonna like, you know, push your buttons a little bit because it wasn't perfect the way that they wanted it.
Yeah.
Um, that really helped me right now because, like, imagine now I am starting my personal training at Equinox, in Florida, and luckily I'm in a mall, right? So I had this brilliant idea. Let me start handing out flyers to some of the people in the mall. And
Nice.
the first day I handed out flyers, like, oh, it's tough to hand out flyers, guys. I don't know who needs to hear this, but if you're trying to get your name out there, you will face like a lot of skepticism, a lot of people scrutinizing you that you don't even know, right? And so like everyone thinks you're just trying to sell them, but like if I if they could just get in their head that I'm just trying to give them a better life by like improving their health and fitness, like it's something I'm extremely passionate about. So even though people will be like, "Oh no, 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 I don't want to be sold. I don't want this and that." It's like I know that my purpose is like to help other people reach their goals, and so even if the feedback is mainly negative, like it gives me some satisfaction knowing I can make a difference in one person's life. So
Wow.
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Feedback is it's huge too, especially like as a coach giving cues and stuff. Some people respond really well to some cues and some people you'll see it click in their head, right? If you're just like bring your elbows lower, imagine you're pulling a lever. Like for some people it's just like you can see the light bulb go off. And so that's why I think not everybody's going to respond to the same feedback in a
Yeah.
good or bad manner. But if you can figure out how someone like, if somebody's more visual or if somebody needs to be like told verbally, like very clearly, what are the steps? Um, those that could be two different people. And so you need to be willing to figure out the person that you're talking to, like how can I best give them feedback? And everybody, it's a case by case. Everybody's going to be different.
Wow. I love that. That's really cool. I had a training client today, a new training client, and he was a big guy. So
Right.
I was gonna start him off like with a little bit heavier weight. But
Uh-huh.
one thing that I'm doing now is starting off with no weight, just to
Okay.
see
Yeah.
what it
That's
looks
perfect.
just to see what the form looks like before they do a weight. And then when I did that, I realized like his form isn't great even without the weight. So I
Right.
decided to use a lower weight. And when I started asking him, I said, "How's that weight feel? How's that weight feel?" Getting that feedback from
That's
him.
so important. Yeah.
And he was like, "This weight is fine." And I thought, I am so glad that I didn't start him at a higher weight just because, he was like a bigger guy. And I thought, okay, he's a bigger guy, should be able, handle a little more weight. So from that today, I thought, I think I'm always going to start, well, of course, with no weight and then start like a 3 pound weight and just keep moving up, just keep moving up.
Yeah.
So,
And that's a safe
yeah,
way to go about it as well. The
yeah,
nice thing is that when we're in the fitness space talking about feedback, we can
yeah,
do it both verbally and non-verbally, right? So
absolutely.
even if somebody's like, "Oh, it felt good," but I can see a lot of deviations in their form and I can see their body trying to compensate, then I get two kinds of feedback, right? I get visual
Yeah,
feedback and I get verbal. So if I see somebody's form wavering a lot and, the weight could be too much for them, especially if they're like trying to overcompensate in a lot of other areas. It's an indicator to me that yes, they might be telling me it's okay, but there's something else going on there that we need to address. And I think
yeah.
that's a huge, huge thing, especially in the fitness area. Which I couldn't be happier to be a part of.
Yeah. It has been really fun, and
Yeah.
it was a big change for me. I worked a desk job, and
Right.
I just couldn't see myself doing that, long term. But I
Hmm.
also have no like trust, and with what this is this survey is an opportunity for people to tell you how much they know, like, and trust you. And with how fast we're moving these days, those are things we just don't talk about. We're
I
just
know.
moving so fast. So,
Absolutely.
so in my other job in building websites, I was really frustrated because there was one client who I had no idea. He never said if I did good or not. And I thought, I am going to have to solicit this feedback. So I called him, I left him a message and said, I really just need to figure out if my work for you is done. Let me know if there's anything I missed. And it happens. We're all moving so fast. It's quite possible I missed something. And ultimately, I did find what I missed. And I was
Right.
able to go back and do it. And I was so excited. I just feel like now everything is checked off. He's happy. Everything is good. But a part of that is just like you said, not necessarily listening, but observing. You can listen to what somebody's saying, or you can pick up on their body language, on whether or not they stay very long. If they walk out the door really fast, something else might be going on. So I love
Right.
that feedback isn't always verbal. It could be in their body language somehow, or more like you said, in just the workout itself. So that's really cool.
Yeah, and I like that you tied it into KLT and also that it could stand for no listen. Well, you know,
Oh
as
yeah,
part
that's
of
nice.
as part of a way to get more feedback, right?
Yeah,
Um, for sure.
that's really great. Well, and let's talk a little bit about that. Do you have any thoughts on this no like trust process? Because I know of feedback, it's kind of easy to talk about feedback, and then when you specifically go with no like and trust, it's a little bit different. So, do
Yeah,
you what do
I
you think
think it's
about no
essential.
like trust? Okay.
Essential. Like, so for me, especially being in the online space as well,
Yeah.
a huge
Yeah.
component of that is that people can trust me as not just like somebody who knows what they're talking about, but almost an authority in the space, right? But in
Yeah.
order for them to do that and to trust me, they have to know me. And that involves me being vulnerable with them and also
Yeah.
them being vulnerable with me, especially for my in-person clientele. It's like if they don't know who I am, then why are they going to trust me? And more often than not, I actually tend to refer all my clients to my Instagram, one, so that we can build that connection, not just inside the gym, but outside the gym. And then when they see me, because I'm pretty active on Instagram, they'll
Yeah.
see, some of the lifestyle that do, some of the like foods that I eat. I post all my meals online, so it's not that I want to just tell everybody what I'm eating, but I want them to know that like I'm in the trenches with them. I'm not going to tell you, look, you have to do all your cardio, you have to do this, this, and this, and then I'm not doing it, right? Because I want them
Oh,
to know, like, and trust me. And so
yeah.
I have to be able to like relate to them on a deeper level in order to
Yeah.
like keep our relationship and in order for it to go any further and to maintain these people in my life, they have to know like and we
Yeah.
have to be able to listen to each other, you know.
Woo.
So
That's awesome.
it's extremely important, and I
Yeah.
love the acronym. I This is something that I'll definitely use all the time.
Wow. That's so cool. So I feel like by watching your Instagrams, I'm like keeping in touch with you and just
I That's the goal,
tuning into
right?
yeah. And I feel like I can still know you even though we are further apart. So that's really
And
cool that you said that. And I have learned things about you that I did not know
right,
by other than just watching your Instagram, which is so cool.
yeah,
I had this experience with a guy with on YouTube that I was watching his videos, and he is a wellness, well, not so much fitness, but wellness, more of like health
yeah,
and diet and that kind of stuff. Um, and I think it's Dr. Berg. what he did was so cool. He had his wife on the show with him.
Oh,
And
really?
yeah, his wife was talking about how they met, and they were asking goofy marriage questions, like, what
Right.
drives you crazy about this person? And like how they met, and, how he proposed, and, goofy, quirky things about their marriage. And that was this moment where I thought, I know this person better than
It's just
just him
so
telling me how to eat, and, about health. It was just this really cool moment where he let us into his life. And I truly believe that it is possible to create know, like, and trust online. Even if you've
absolutely
never met someone, you can do it. You really can. So that's really cool that you said that. And I appreciate that. And it's really interesting too that you are using your Instagram. You're saying, hey, you're seeing me in person, but I want you to go watch my Instagram too.
right.
So that's really, really
Yeah,
neat.
it's
You,
a
like
it's
I said,
another level.
yeah, you don't have all that time, right? You still only
Right.
have how long with your client? Is it an hour? Is it a half hour?
Hour. Yep. Just an
Okay.
hour. And so like if they can see me more often as a coach and just also like living my life, we can build a deeper connection without like even needing to spend all day together, right? And so
Yeah.
that's the idea behind it. And that's why I think social media can be super important.
Oh, yeah. That's so great. Using it for the benefit of it, for its positive benefits is so great. That's really cool.
Absolutely.
So what about, since you've been a trainer, have you made any adjustments based on feedback that you've gotten?
Yeah, so it's surprising because a lot of the feedback that I'm given is more just um like task to do almost, or like those talks to do. Um, and it's very unique in the personal training industry specifically because you're working with people and it's a service, right? And if I was in cocaine still, I still paint that pink. Okay, I can do that. I don't have to like make a connection and interaction with somebody
Yeah.
else.
Yeah.
But when you're a personal trainer, it's much different. It's like, okay, how can I relate to this person? How can I best help them? How can I track their progress? It's so um, it requires such a diverse skill set that you're always like trying to evolve some aspect of your skills. So whether that's being able to build rapport, being able to train people proficiently, being able to track progress, getting results, like all those things are super important. And so when I receive feedback, specifically like from my personal training manager, it's almost like it's almost always to do with just the objectively like how many clients do you have, or like how many people have you tried to talk to,
Okay.
and so that's why it's very interesting because you know it can be the luck of a draw, right? Like if I connect more with somebody that I was given to do their assessment, then I have a higher chance of working with them as a client. And you know, ultimately, if you're just passionate about it and you want the best for everyone, it can be quite a simple and easy job. But you also have to have the skills to be able to do that and to build
Yep.
that rapport. So a lot of my feedback I don't take too harshly because I know that the time and the people will come. You just have to be consistent. You have to keep showing up. And so it's all about the mindset at the end of the day, like staying positive throughout the experience.
Yeah. We so remember we had a client who would just pick at everything, right?
Oh,
Just like
I
this
mean, there's
client just,
always going to be.
oh, pick at everything, right? And I remember I was working with this client, and where we were, it was a 20-minute workout. So you were in and out the door. And this guy wanted to stay after the 20 minutes. He wanted to stretch. He wanted to do all this stuff. And, for the most part, we just let him, after his 20 minutes, we just kind of let him do his own thing. But there was this one day when his workout got finished in like 17 and a half minutes. And he looked at his watch and he said, I was supposed to get 20 minutes. And, sometimes the machines are shorter, right? Like the actual exercise is shorter. Like when we used focus, because it was only 4 reps, it was shorter. And I just said that to him. I said, we got through everything you were supposed to do today in a shorter amount of time because each exercise was shorter today. And he was upset. I could tell he was upset. And I thought about it later. I thought, I really need to just make sure this guy gets like 20 minutes and 30 seconds, just to make sure. So I actually added exercises that were not on the list to make sure this guy got his whole 20 minutes and maybe even a little bit more. And it was really wild. It was like very fulfilling that day. It just made me feel really good that I was able to beat his complaint, basically. Like he couldn't complain about anything at that point because I took him through everything and he got his 20 minutes. So, yeah, it's interesting in fitness, just the feedback that you're going to get. Some people are like, this is too long. I don't want to do this so long. I'm good. I'm good now. I'm great. I can leave now. Great. 2 minutes early. That's awesome. And then some people are just like, it didn't go long enough. And they're looking at their clock. And so that was really fun.
Yeah. And honestly, that's just a good example of like getting feedback that's indirect versus direct. So
Yeah.
if somebody's giving you that indirect feedback, they don't necessarily want to tell you, but they'll hint at it and try to infer. And that's why it's super important to be like, open-minded of what people's body cues and like what exactly are they
Yeah.
trying to say, right? Because if you just don't think about body language in general or like what certain cues mean, then you could be totally missing. Somebody could be having an awful time, like especially as a personal trainer, you have to be very aware of like, okay, my client is literally dying and I haven't offered them water and it looks like they're doing something. And you have to be aware of all that stuff. So
Yeah.
um, indirect and direct feedback. If somebody's really just like they come in super tired, it's like that's a form of feedback as well. It's like, okay, our
Wow.
recovery clearly hasn't been very good. Maybe I need to ask about nutrition, and then going forward, how can we adjust? And then you'll get more feedback as you go through, and you know the direct feedback comes from the indirect. So if they come in looking tired when you ask them, you can get the direct feedback. Okay, yeah, I
Nice.
only slept three
Okay.
hours last night, and that's
Yeah.
that's super important information that you need to know, not just like in personal training and in fitness, but also like, if you manage people or if even if you have a sit down job, you're working in front of a computer all day, you can notice that your coworker is clearly disgruntled also. And you need to get that feedback because one, it shows that you're a caring person and, for no like trust, you get to know more about them. They'll like you more because you're asking about their life and like why they may or may not be happy. And you guys can build trust through that conversation. So, I mean, take it as you will, but know, like, and trust is a great way to live. For
Yeah.
sure.
I'm going to put that on a t-shirt, Merick. That was awesome. So what
You don't
about,
have it on a t-shirt?
I have KLT on a t-shirt, but not like the way to live, but I like that.
Okay. Okay.
Um, what about, have you ever had to give really challenging feedback to somebody?
Yeah, so
Like,
there's there's a lot of times where you will tell somebody like in the nicest way possible, like, look, you are not doing this right. And it's like, and you will say, okay, slow down. And then they keep going at the same speed. And then like, okay, slow down. And they keep going at the same speed. And then the next set, you're like, okay, we're going to do this again, but this time I want you to really slow down and like control the movement up, control the movement down. And, eventually like it gets to a point where you literally have to like almost like put your hand on their shoulder, look them in the eye and be like, you're just going too fast with the rep. We're not keeping tension on the target muscle group. You need to slow down. And when you can like really like speak to someone and like, even though you've been saying it maybe 5 times and, I can be passionate about this because it's kind of happy even today, um, But when you can really speak to someone like, and then like, if they still don't get it, you ask them, so why don't you want to slow down? And it's like, okay, well, I didn't know I was supposed to. Well, I'm telling you now, and you're confirming that, so now we can agree. So I think the thing with challenging feedback is making sure there's an understanding. If there's no understanding, then they're not going to slow down because they don't know why they're going to slow down, you know? Because in their head, it's like, if I slow down, it's going to be harder and it's going to take longer. But if I can explain, okay, you're taking the tension off the muscle group that you told me you wanted to grow or you wanted to be stronger. And so like now they're like, oh, well, I don't want to do that because I'm paying you to like help me out in here. And so when you can like put it in perspective from there, and that's like, you know, being able to empathize and sympathize with other people is so important because if you can understand the way they're thinking and the way that it makes sense to them, then you can get along with anyone. And
Yeah.
challenging feedback or not, understanding someone is very important for not only like coachability, like how well you can coach somebody, but also just like how efficiently you can coach somebody as well. So
Wow.
challenging feedback, it's tough, but like it needs to be done, and there's no way around it unless you want them to like potentially get injured and like not be able to train well, which no one that is a coach would want.
Yeah, I love that. I am not really good at being persistent like that, so I appreciate that you said
Yeah,
that, and I'm gonna work harder on that because you said that.
it's hard. It's hard for the coach as well because it's like, am I not saying it right? Like why are they not listening to me? And it's like, well, you need to assert yourself as more of an authority and be able to like help them understand because it's simply just a not understanding. Like it's not that um they don't want to listen to you, they just don't understand like why and what it means to slow down. And so when
Yeah,
you explain those things, it's much easier.
I love that. That's really cool. I this last week I had a client that I I was like last week was the week everything wanted to happen. So I was trying to get to
Right.
everything. And I felt so bad when I walked in and I was like a couple minutes late, I was like I was supposed to be there at 9, it was like 9:01, 9:02, but I still felt flustered when I walked in. And I worked with the client, but I felt rushed. The whole time I just felt rushed. And I'm an empath. I definitely have that empathy thing. And I thought, how is this client feeling? If I'm feeling rushed, how is this client feeling? Does this client feeling like, man, this trainer, she's not really focusing on me. This is like she's got her brain somewhere else. And I felt horrible. And I thought about it like overnight. And I had another training session with her a couple days later. And I thought, I said to her, I said, you helped me with something. When I when I kind of rush in like that, or if something else is going on with my life, I'm not going to charge you for that session.
Wow.
I'm just going to scratch that session because I would rather build that relationship with you than have you feel like that didn't even count. Like I paid how many, I mean, 40, 50, $60, whatever it was. I paid for that and I didn't get this person really focused on me. And so when I told her, I said, I am not going to charge you for that last session. Like you just see the smile on her face was just crazy. It was just like, oh my gosh, you would do that for me? Really? And
Right.
I thought, not only is this, it was another moment to be with her and to learn about her, but also it took away the stress of the whole situation and
Right.
just feeling
Right.
like, you have 10 sessions, you're buying 10 sessions. Am I really here right now? Or is my brain somewhere else? And as a trainer, it just was this moment where I just figured it out. I was just like, I'm not going to charge you for that. If I'm not on my game that day, I'm not going to charge you for that session. And you're getting a session. You're still here. You're still getting the session. But
Yeah.
you're not going home like I paid for that today. And I
Right.
didn't really get that much from it. So it's just like really interesting thing that,
That's pretty awesome of you because
yeah,
I know most people would not do that for a client, but I think I respect that decision a lot, and
yeah.
it really is important to show up for your clients, even if you're not feeling it that day. Like,
Yeah.
that's why when, people say, oh, personal training, it's not that hard of a job. Okay, but you have to show up for 20 different people and
Yeah.
you're working with somebody, they only get 1 hour with you. You might have 20, 30 clients, but they only get that 1 hour with you. And so if you make them feel like they're not important, then why would they want to work with you? And so to me, it's all about showing up for each person individually, like instead of just like showing up to get it done, right? It's not like
Yeah.
I can just go paint a propane tank with a propane tank doesn't care.
That's so true. That's so
Right?
true. Wow. Well, that was a great interview, Merrick. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
I was gonna say I don't want to feel flustered for my next client.
No, you're fine.
So I'll
I
probably have
totally get
to
it. All right.
have to.
And I'm going to send you the No Like Trust report for yourself so you can check it out and see if you want to use it.
Oh, I would love to do that. Yeah,
All right.
absolutely. Well, thank
Cool.
you so much, Terry, for having me on. I had a lot of fun, and it was great
Yep.
to kind of catch up with you via
Yeah.
podcast. Hopefully, we can do it again. Okay?
We'll do it again. Absolutely.